We're going to open this episode on wormy Chuck Schumer. This is a lie that went around the internet yesterday. So there's a battle for what you'll believe about Trump's bringing out a lot of military in Washington, D.C. to clean up the place. It really is a huge public test on does masculine, muscular care of a city beat the feminist Democrats in how they handle crime. Can feminists handle a city? What happens? Women are hurt. Minorities are hurt. Here's Chuck Schumer.
A lot of folks on the Republican side, your Republican colleagues, say that they are...
Hold on. What is with the lisp on this guy? Never mind.
...very scared to walk outside in D.C., that they think this is completely the right thing to do. Senator, are you scared walking around Washington these days?
I walk around all the time. I wake up early in the morning sometimes and take a nice walk as the sun is rising around some of the Capitol and the other monuments and things, and I feel perfectly safe. They're full of it. Look, here's what they've done, Aaron. Plain and simple. Donald Trump wants to distract.
They're full of it, he says. By the way, specifically, he says Donald Trump wants to distract from Epstein. Guys, get off Epstein. It's a Democrat talking point. He wants to do it to distract. Is that why Trump did it? Or was it that a 17-year-old, by the way, named Big Balls, he's 17 years old, got beaten within an inch of his life on the streets of Washington, D.C. They go in and they interview. By the way, he's a rich, white, elitist, feminist Democrat. Rich, white, elitist, feminist Democrats agree that Washington, D.C. is safe. Wrong. It's a lie. It's not safe. The statistics completely defy what they say. Why he says that on public TV, I mean on a podcast, he thinks everyone is stupid. It is a dog whistle to Democrats. This is our talking point we're going with. Trump's full of it by saying that it was unsafe. Were the streets unsafe when Biden brought in tens of thousands of soldiers and put razor wire around the White House over January 6th, right before his inauguration, when they kept saying that Trump voters were violent?
Washington Post poll, 65% of D.C. residents say that crime is a very serious problem in the District of Columbia. And while Democrats want to rant and rave and coddle criminals, President Trump wants to put them behind bars. And that's what this task force is focused on doing for the next 28 days.
The bigger question to Chuck Schumer is, fine, maybe you think it's safe. Let's pretend like you have your security detail. You're probably in a much nicer neighborhood and you say it's safe. Are you still against the other people who feel compromised? Do you have a problem with busting crime? Do you, a Democrat, have a problem with cops going out and confiscating illegal guns, stopping carjacking, stopping muggings and sexual assault on women? Do you have a problem with that? With the amount of urine and human feces all around your union, around your train station, your bus depot, the kinds of things that people see when they come to your town? Do you have a problem? Are you against Trump doing anything about it? There's Morning Joe. Now, Morning Joe, we know he's pretty slow. Slow Joe, Morning Joe. We know that he's pretty slow. When he's even going, DC crime statistics are pretty clear. I showed this video earlier, but I'm going to show it again.
The answer to this problem for Democrats is not, everything's okay. There's nothing to see here. Move along, move along. Oh, Washington has dropped 24% or whatever in crime. Well, let me give you some other numbers. The Washington Post took a poll at late April, early May. 91% of Washington residents say crime is a problem.
Someone tell Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer says crime is not a problem, and 91% of residents say it is a problem. So someone is wrong. Who's wrong? The 91% of Washington, D.C. that says crime is a problem? Or is Chuck Schumer lying to you for politics? I'll let you tell me in the chat below what you think.
91%.
What does America agree 91% on? We don't even agree that the sky is blue. You can't get 91% on the sky is blue.
51%. It is an extremely serious problem.
Well, Chuck goes, you're full of bull. You, like Trump, are making it up full of bull. Trump is just trying to distract. So those of you 51% that say it's a serious problem, you're just trying to distract.
And John Heilman, We've had people before put this in racial terms.
Uh-oh. You know how my skin crawls every time someone brings up race. But this one, Joe Scarborough, he had a moment. I think a tractor ran over his head this morning when he got out of bed because he suddenly started telling the truth.
And this is, I must say, this is one thing that I think Democrats have gotten so wrong about crime. So wrong about crime. Let me just read the Washington Post here. There are stark divides among lines of race and income in the poll, with Black residents and lower income residents significantly more worried about crime.
Black residents, the poor. Chuck Schumer, you know, every time Trump farts, you say he's harming the poor and the blacks. And I just want to say the black residents, primarily the poor, there's one other demographic he's going to name in a minute. They're particularly the ones that are against your take, you rich, white, Democrat elitist.
Than white residents and those with higher incomes.
Ah, yeah. White people. So who is defending the white rich? Who is talking like the white rich in Washington, D.C.? Chuck Schumer and all the Democrats going after Trump. Who is the voice of the black poor in Washington, D.C.? It's Donald J. Trump.
As they were last year, black women are among the most.
Okay, women. That's the last one. That's the last demographic I have to check off. It's not just the black poor that Trump represents. It's black poor women. Barack Obama, Democrat Party, the ones you claim to be the voice of and represent, you don't represent them. Trump represents, at least over there in Washington, D.C., moving tanks in there and ending crime. Let that sink in, my friends. Black, poor, women, 90% find more in common with Trump than a Democrat. The universe is healing. Now, stop voting for Democrats who don't represent you. This is my message to black, poor women.
Most concerned, with 65% saying crime is a very or extremely serious issue, compared with 82% who said the same thing last.
Oh, those poor black women. You know what? Their children have been shot and attacked. Their daughters have been abused. They themselves, those black women, poor black women who go to the store, are getting harassed. They're the ones that live among and see the disgusting homeless, crazy people screaming, spitting in their faces. That's what they see. The polls are getting clearer and clearer. This is another incredible issue for Trump. And the Democrats, once again, are on the wrong side of just common sense and being a human being. This is Trump derangement syndrome. They hate even fighting evil. If you fight evil, the Democrats are against it.
Yeah, okay. I think this sort of gives the game away here because Donald Trump is like Air Jordan towering over Joe Biden when it comes to their handling of crime. Look, in 2024, look at where Biden's net approval was on crime. Way underwater there at minus 26 points. It was one of Biden's worst issues. Granted, pretty much every issue was one of Biden's worst
Democrats on CNN destroying Biden
issues. And again, look at where Donald Trump is. Way, way, way above Joe Biden. What is that? That's 27 points. So Americans vastly prefer Donald Trump's approach to crime than they did to Joe Biden's. And again, I think it gets back to the point that Americans are far more hawkish on crime than a lot of Democrats.
Why in the world did half of America almost put Kamala Harris in office? I know Trump won by a big, point margin, 5 to 8 points. It's not that big across the country. That means Democrats that think, though Biden is bad on crime and Kamala Harris is even worse, down 26 points, they still vote them in office. You want your kids shot. You want your kids on drugs. You want your kids in gangs. You don't want to have your public school cleaned up. Democrats, they don't just hate all families. They hate their own family. Here's more.
So I've worked extensively with police, and I don't have a problem tactically with what Donald Trump is doing here. He doesn't have to be the most dangerous place on earth. Something can be improving, but still really bad. If your house is on fire and then a third of the fire goes out, it's less bad, but it could still be an emergency. I work in D.C. It is dangerous there.
Oh, talk to Chuck Schumer. You work in D.C. This is Ellie Honig, a regular senior legal analyst on CNN, who's not I don't know if he's right wing, but he's not a whack job, lefty.
You cannot deny that.
Can't deny it. Chuck denied it. Chuck Schumer said you're full of bunk and you're hiding something. You're covering up. You want to distract the Democrat. This is the biggest public failure of Democrats to just, this goes right up there with tariffs are going to cause a recession. You can't believe them. But wait, we're not done with the Democrats because I have to make fun of many, many more, especially, here's Hakeem Jeffries. Let's go to the other house in Democrat politics on CNBC.
And how do you think about the message of socialism or being a socialist? And what that may portend for the Democratic Party.
This is Mamdani in New York is running, and he's doing very well in his little socialist district. And Hakeem Jeffries, he has one job. You know, Chuck Schumer said Trump is trying to distract by bringing police force, National Guard into Washington, D.C. Now tell me, is Hakeem Jeffries trying to distract from something when they ask him what he thinks of Mamdani's pure communist politics?
Well, I think, as I indicated, listen, my view about what we as Democrats stand for, what we're fighting for. We need to lower the high cost of living in the United States of America. We need to fix our broken healthcare system, and we need to clean up corruption in Washington, D.C., so we actually have a government.
Where'd you get that from? Clean up corruption from Washington, D.C.? What about corruption on the streets?
That works for the American people, for everyday Americans, for hardworking American taxpayers, as opposed to working for the privileged few. That's what
privileged few. You know, the rich white people that are polling in Washington, D.C., that crime is not as big of a problem as the black female poor.
That one big ugly bill was about: cut health care, devastate nutritional assistance, reward Republican billionaire donors.
Oh, yeah, Republican billionaire donors. We know who they represent them. Chuck Schumer. Hold on, the evisceration is not complete of the Democrats without Scott
Well,
Jennings.
what about that idea? What about the idea that this is, even if one supports...
It's Jake Tapper. Lying journalist still working at CNN, one of the most famous lying journalists there is, who lied about Biden's cognitive decline.
This effort, it's a Band-Aid, right? It's not like hiring 500 additional cops in D.C.
And I think they do have a staffing shortage in the D.C. Police Department. They need to fix that. I don't know what's authoritarian about putting some extra eyes and ears on the street, getting criminals off the street to keep people from being murdered and carjacked. Nobody in their right mind believes Washington, D.C. is safe. And to say...
I like that, too. Just want to go back to Chuck Schumer. No one in their right mind thinks Washington, D.C. is safe, meaning, in other words, using Aristotelian logic, law of non-contradiction, A cannot be both A and not A at the same time and in the same way. Or is it law of the excluded middle? If A is B and B is C, then A equals C. Chuck Schumer, therefore, is not in his right mind. He's lost his mind. No one in his right mind thinks Washington, D.C. is safe. Chuck Schumer says it's safe. Therefore, Chuck Schumer has lost his mind. Here's the guy. We did a piece on this the other day on the guy with Janine Pirro's video of the guy that threw the Subway sandwich. We'll show you here. There's a Subway sandwich. He throws it at guard. Yeah, he got nailed with a felony. But wait, here's the big breaking news. Pam Bondi reveals the man who threw a sandwich at a federal agent was a DOJ, Department of Justice employee. Democrat. You can't hire a Democrat. They throw sandwiches at cops. He works for the stinking Department of Justice. Guys, they haven't even started cleaning out the DOJ yet. There's a bunch of sandwich throwers over there, Subway sandwich attackers in the Department of Justice. He was fired and charged with a felony. Bondi said, this is an example of the deep state we've been up against for several months as we work to refocus the DOJ. This guy technically works for Pam Bondi. Guys, there's tens of thousands of these people, Democrats hired under Biden and Obama, that are corrupt, working against the government, working against you, throwing sandwiches at cops. You don't want to go through their Google searches either. You'd probably have to be in therapy. Look, here they are in Washington, D.C., bulldozing a homeless camp around the Kennedy Center and the Lincoln Memorial. You know, my male audience out there, we like watching construction equipment. We like watching the tractors. Here goes. He's wiping out all the spoons and needles and drug paraphernalia. There's probably a lot of pornography in there too. Scoops it up. Homeless demolition. You'll probably pray for this the driver, this tractor, because he's probably already got hepatitis just by going that close to the homeless encampment. That is Trump. Promises made, promises kept. That's what I voted for. How about you? Wait, last little dig here. Mike Davis, President Trump put AG Pam Bondi in charge of the D.C. police. Now the D.C. police is starting to cooperate with ICE. That's a bonus. We're getting Tom Homan ICE work done and Kristi Noem. Bonus. More needs to be done. But this is decisive leadership. Not bad for a sanctuary. All those other sanctuary cities need to see. Work with ICE, local police departments. So Chuck Schumer and Democrats, very wrong. Guys, this is going to be huge for Trump. He's going to run on this. He's going to be running on all of his bonuses. This is just another one of many check marks in his giant bunch of wins. He's going to say, we stopped murder and crime in D.C. I'm Doug in Exile. Subscribe.